Hello everyone, it's me, Juan Gamer 4, making a video, and today we're back and we're going to be doing another reaction to Garten of BanBan. Hooray. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Uh, there is going to be a lot of reactions coming up. There is a reason why I'm talking like this, because, yeah, I've been working overtime. And all I'm about to say is that starting Monday for the next 2 weeks, it is gonna be a content like the floodgates has opened and there is gonna be at least a lot of videos. Now I'm not trying to say that it's gonna be a video every single day, but just know that there is a lot in the tank. So with that being said, we're gonna be starting the video now. Let's go.
BanBan is one big mistake. No, I'm not talking about the games.
Ha!
BanBan himself is a mistake, but now he's going to be replaced.
What?
That is much worse.
They're replacing the main character? Well, I mean, the title card character.
Welcome to Game Theory, the show that would never cheat during a game of hide and seek.
I saw you peek. There's no way you found me that easily.
But you know who has been hiding from us for a while? The old Red Devil himself, BanBan.
Dang.
It's been over 8.5 months since we last got
8.5
ourselves a
months,
mainline Garten
jeez.
BanBan game. That's nearly twice as long as the previous longest BanBan drought. And while I normally call that a win for my sanity, I've got to say, I kind of miss the...
Ugh.
Never mind.
What was he doing?
Epic conclusion of Garten of BanBan 7, I was intrigued by what BanBan 8 would offer. Only we didn't get BanBan 8. We got BanBan 0. For a
Zero?
kid in kindergarten, this series sure does struggle with basic counting. Though I suppose there is a reason behind this one. Garten of BanBan 0 is a prequel, taking place
Really?
before all the other games in the
I mean, it
series.
makes
Back when
sense.
the
I mean,
mascots
it's
were
0,
all
so it
just
has to be
little
in the past.
babies. I mean, little babies. And it turns out that spending more time on your game leads to a better final product.
That's fun. I like that.
You're learning, Euphoric Bros. You're learning.
Hey!
Talk about how good the game is.
Character
How
development.
freaking adorable Truffle Toot is. So
Aww.
he is my son, and I love him.
Wait, you adopting him already on the spot?
At least not entirely. Because while it
Dang.
is suitably insane for this channel, the thing that's been even more insane is the science. If you watched our last theory, you'll know that I have been a bit obsessed with what the heck the series' main MacGuffin actually is.
Oh,
Being
right,
good
that
created the
video.
mascots, Jivanium. Previously, we theorized that Jivanium was the genetic
I'm pretty sure we did a reaction to it. I don't know, because like it's Garten of BanBan. I tried to block out anything Garten of BanBan related.
We have more details that tell us exactly what Jivanium is, but as a result, we...
But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If I did do a reaction to it, I'm gonna leave a link in the description box so that way you guys can, you know, remind yourself about help you remember watching that. And there's also going to be a lot of links in the description box below. Most definitely there will be a link to the latest video on the Extras channel because we just combined the two Daima videos together into one big video. So looking like around like a 34-minute video. So if that sounds like your alley, if that sounds like something up your alley, you can go ahead and check that out. And also, we just dropped the latest video on Alex the Wolf. Yes, I finally released something on that channel. It's been 3 weeks since I last do that. But yeah, just to let you guys know.
Able to predict exactly what's going to happen when BanBan 8 does finally happen. So
Okay.
hold on to Truffle Toot real tight, loyal theorists, because we're going to shine a light on the science lurking in the caverns of Garten of BanBan 0.
Yay.
Unlike previous editions in the series, we're not playing as a parent desperately looking for their missing child.
Okay.
Instead, we actually play as an unnamed mascot who has just awoken for the first time in the facility. We meet BanBan and the other mascots and play a bit of hide and seek until a certain familiar face shows up, Syringian, who begins hella scheming with BanBan.
We have to do something, and I might just know what exactly.
Apparently, BanBan is about to be replaced, but
Dang.
Syringian has a plan to save him, and it has to happen tonight. Later that night, BanBan comes into our room and wakes us up to go on some sort of adventure. Red, that's pretty sus. We solve some puzzles.
Nah, that's
we meet
crazy.
Truffle Toot, my goat. But eventually, BanBan tries to sacrifice us to this giant half-ram.
What is that?
Oh no, who would have ever seen this coming? Thankfully, we're saved at the last moment by the selflessness of Nab Nab. We
No,
get a final
Nab
chase sequence,
Nab.
and BanBan shuts us in a closet, promising to come back for us eventually. And roll credits. Now, if you've got the BanBan brain rot like me, first of all, I'm so sorry. But you
Nah, I'm
will
spared.
recognize this closet from the first trailer of Garten of BanBan 8.
It's been a while.
Yeah, you think? We were little kids when you locked me in here.
Dang. They kept you in that closet for years, man. Dang. Also, why didn't... I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know who this blue character... I mean, I'm pretty sure they did already tell us about the blue. Flame... I don't know. My brain's not working, guys. My brain's not working.
But this does officially reveal to us who we are playing as throughout BanBan Zero, the blue BanBan known as Flumbo.
Okay, there we go,
At
Flumbo.
the end of Garten of BanBan 7 when our character peeled back a sticker of BanBan off a wall to reveal Flumbo underneath. Dramatic stinger!
Dun dun
No,
dun.
you Stinger Flynn, you're not in this game. Thank goodness.
Dang.
All of this just opens up more questions than it answers. Why was BanBan being replaced? Why Flumbo? And why is BanBan
Dang.
planning on setting Flumbo free in the next game when he was the one who locked him away in the first place? Well, to begin,
Why didn't Flumbo just escape? I mean, like, the closet doesn't look like that hard to escape. Or are you telling me that BanBan locked it? If that's the case, just... I mean, I'm not trying to give credibility to these tunes, but I mean, like, well, whatever they are. All I know is that they made these creatures for kindergarten for some reason. I mean, you could have just made them cartoons, to say the least. But, they're strong, so I'm pretty sure they could have gotten out easily.
answering all those questions, we need to look where BanBan always hides its juiciest lore, the hidden notes scattered throughout the facility. According to one of the case reports, the decision to axe BanBan came about after they injected BanBan with a new strain of Givanium, with the hope that it would make him more docile and obedient. Unfortunately, it sort of had the opposite effect. Quote, at seemingly random intervals, Case 6 would experience extremely violent, aggressive, disobedient episodes where it would attack anything in sight. Physical
So
transformations
basically
during these
anyone.
episodes have also been observed. This was the start of BanBan's hyper-aggressive, super strong, wild state that we've seen BanBan transform into many times in previous games.
Okay.
Over 200 people have been injured as a
Dang.
result of BanBan's sudden rage, with a fatality rate of around 10%. Those
Dang.
are not great numbers when BanBan is supposed to be the mascot of, checks notes, a freaking kindergarten.
Again,
So
why are you
strain is
making
apparent
these creatures
causing
for a
problems for
kindergarten?
our dear friend
Just make it a
BanBan because it's
cartoon.
mixing with the old strain within
A
his
cartoon
body.
factory
Why?
would make
Well,
more
in our
sense.
previous theory, we concluded that Givanium was actually DNA mixed with the gene editing technology CRISPR-Cas9. Specifically,
Okay.
it was the DNA from a species of flatworm called Bipalium coens. It had
Again,
the
if I did
uncanny
make a
ability to
reaction
regrow
video
back
on that,
body
I'll
parts
be
after
sure to
being
leave it in the
damaged,
link
something it seems like all the
in
other
the description
experiments
box
can
below.
do after suffering major injuries. It had a non-mammal-like circulatory system. It could regenerate its own memories, and its head even looked like Syringians. Now, in BanBan Zero,
Okay.
we're given even more evidence that this is, in fact, the case, or at least the DNA part. Written on the whiteboard in the secret room is a message that says Givanium can proliferate indefinitely, just like how
Okay.
DNA can theoretically self-replicate, making more and more copies of itself basically forever. Therefore, with Givanium DNA, that would mean that we now have two similar but slightly different strains of DNA. Not different enough to be classified as a new genome, but not similar enough that everything just works as the scientists would expect. And that is something we can actually witness for ourselves if we step outside of the four walls of this ungodly kindergarten and into the world of species hybridization. Normally, scientists define a species as a group
real
of
life on
organisms
this
who
one.
are able to mate with each other to produce viable offspring. For example, every human on Earth can theoretically produce a viable human offspring with any other human on Earth. Therefore, all humans are part of the same species. Meanwhile, other organisms, even closely related ones like chimps, are excluded from our species.
Dang.
Of course, nature has a funny way of really messing with our clearly defined and agreed upon definitions. Because there are some organisms who technically aren't part of the same
mules
species,
exist,
but they
right?
can produce offspring.
With
With
donkeys
a few
and
caveats.
horses.
For example, donkeys and horses
There it
are able
is.
to produce offspring known as a mule. You can get wolf dogs, which I think you can guess how you get that. One of my favorites when I was a kid was the liger, a mix of a
A
male
liger?
lion and a female tiger. And they were my favorites until I realized that these hybrid animals don't exactly live the best lives.
Oh,
Often than
no.
not, these hybrids come with a whole host of problems as a direct result of them mixing their genes together. First off, many of these new hybrid creatures, such as the mule, once created, are unable to make offspring of their own. My
Dang,
equally
not
beloved
even with other
ligers have been
mules?
documented to suffer with organ failure, neurological defects,
Dang.
cancer, arthritis, and
Dang.
other mutations. There's also some research that indicates that these hybrid cats and wolf dogs can have a whole host of behavioral problems, including being way more aggressive than either of their parent species, just like BanBan. The scientists
Dang.
must have thought, these species are close enough, how much harm could it possibly do? The answer is
Everything.
Scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. But the
Exactly. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. Honestly, a lot of people in indie games should really take that to heart. Because, like I said, well, it's like every single indie game. It's always one person ruining it for everyone. And always it has to be scientists. Like, do they not hear the mantra, just because you could do this doesn't mean you should do this? I mean, well, we got Happy Meat Farms, Joey Drew Studio with the ink machine. What else? There's been a lot more, to be honest. You get the idea. There has been a lot of indie games where just one scientist or one person ruins it for everyone. They just because they could, but they don't stop that. Should they really do this?
question I have is, what species is this new strain from? It needs to be something genetically close to the current strain of Givanium by Paleum coens in order to still be considered Givanium rather than a new genome. The scientists were also trying to find ways to make BanBan more cooperative, more docile, more suitable for their evil plans of running a kindergarten. Similarly, whatever species
Such
they find
evil.
should also demonstrate some of the traits we've seen manifest
Their evil
in
plans
BanBan
to
post-injection,
make.
like his animalistic hunger and, of course, his love of pancreases. And I found just what the Dr. Uthman ordered. It's Mr. Mind? No, that can't be right. Tapeworm. Velvet. What are all these DC characters doing in my BanBan episode? Oh, it's because today's sponsor is the new official strategy game I found that fits the bill for this new Givanium strain is a species known as Gerardia doratocephala, or GD for short.
Yeah, we're
Much
just
like
gonna say
our old
GD
strain,
for short,
GD
because
is
there
a
is no way
type
I'll
of
be able to memorize
Plantaria,
that.
sharing a lot of the same genes and characteristics, like their ability to regrow half of their bodies when damaged. But on top of that, GD has a ton of other characteristics that fit everything the scientists were looking for. First, location. Last time we mentioned that Givanium comes from our neighbors, quote, down south. We have a ticket for a flight coming out of Montreal, so their southern neighbors are almost certainly the United States. We also said that our previous strain, coens, fits the bill because it came from the US. Except that's not entirely accurate. Coens is actually from Asia, but was accidentally introduced to North
So they're
America,
invasion
so it's considered
species.
an invasive species.
Invasive
GD,
species,
on the
my
other hand,
apologies.
is
But you get the
native to
idea.
North America. This not only fits the bill much better, but it also reflects what the scientists were looking for. Coens is invasive and disruptive to its environment, whereas GD is not disruptive. It is part of the ecosystem, and so likely will play nicer than an invasive species like the old Givanium strain. There's also the matter of where in the environment you can find these little flat boys. GD tends to be found in surface freshwater environments like ponds and especially flowing rivers. Living in a river, you not only have to contend with flowing water, but also every other creature that makes it home, dirt and dust running off into the river, and just the general chaos of that environment. Plus, there have been a bunch of studies on GD specifically that show when put under environmental stress, they were incredibly quick to adapt and highly resistant to those stresses, even going so far as to physically change the environment around them, like the pH of the water or soil, in order to keep their bodies working optimally. Meanwhile, coens, what is probably the opposite of a stimulating environment. Quents mainly feed on earthworms, and where do earthworms live? In the dark, damp world underground, under rocks, away from just about everything. And remember, the ultimate goal of these Givanium creatures was to have them be interacting with children in a kindergarten. And if you've
Still a
ever spent,
dumb
I
idea.
don't know, 5 seconds in a kindergarten before, you know they tend to be pretty
Oh,
chaotic
yeah.
places. So while an old strain of BanBan might be able to handle the cold, dark caverns of the basement of the kindergarten, these violent outbursts will only get worse when he's overstimulated in the kindergarten classroom. While
Yeah.
a new strain from GD would likely have a much better time with it, and may even be proactive in lowering the stress of that environment for its own survival. Our new strain
Yeah.
of Givanium also
Basically
happens to
causing
have an
BanBan
very
not to go
appetite.
berserk.
Last time I said that Quents would eat rotting flesh and organs like pancreases. Well, this is where I have to apologize a bit. The study I used for
Really?
that point does say that certain planarians do that. It's just that Quents isn't actually one of them. They pretty
Dang.
much stick to exclusively earthworms like their villain Lil from the Rugrats. But do you want to guess what planarian the study said did enjoy pancreas?
D.
So, after a little injection from this new strain, it's no wonder BanBan might have developed a more aggressive diet. So, my bad
Alright.
for making that mistake in the last episode, but hey, it worked out in the long run. There's also the side effects the scientists didn't mention, like how Quents happens to produce a substance known as TTX, which is let's see here, a super dangerous neurotoxin.
Oh.
Does eat your heart out. But yeah, not exactly what you want around children, or adults for that matter.
I'm not gonna. Or, you know, there could have been more something. Like, I don't know, like a poppy gas. Ain't that right, Playtime Co.? Yeah, I don't know why I decided to bring up Playtime Co. It's just like gas in a kindergarten. Let's be honest. I feel like at some point we're going to have an indie game where it's like, oh yeah, we unleash a toxin on the kids when they were partaking in kindergarten, when little Timmy was showing show and tell.
Our new strain GD is 100%
I don't know. I feel like we are going to get, we're somehow going to get that down the line.
New strain of Givanium the best, and why the scientists at the kindergarten would be super interested in this species in particular has to do with the flatworm's superpower. As I've already mentioned,
Superpower?
flatworms have the uncanny ability to regrow entire parts of their body. If you cut
Okay.
a flatworm in half, not only will the head grow back its tail, but the discarded tail will also grow back a replacement head. What's even
What?
freakier is that the tail that regrew the entire new head will somehow retain some of the memories of its decapitated head. And
What?
GD takes this superpower to an
So they
even
can live
bigger
legitimately
extreme.
just
In
clone
one study,
themselves.
scientists took a bunch of GD worms and divided them into
I mean,
two
obviously
groups.
they don't
One group
want
was
to.
trained using electric shocks to avoid a particular light, while the
I mean, yeah, they're desperately trying not to get decapitated, but in a scenario where they get decapitated, that's crazy. They could just make a different version of themselves. Well, essentially a clone of themselves. Okay, well, I'm basically thinking like it's instant. Most definitely it will take time, but still, that's cool. Regrowing a head, and the new head still has the memories of the past. That's crazy.
other group was left as a control. Then the extreme. In one study, scientists took a bunch of GD worms and divided them into two groups. One
Okay.
group was trained using electric shocks to avoid a particular light, while the other group was left as a control. Then the
Okay.
scientists brought in a separate group of GD worms that hadn't been trained in anything and had these new worms eat the experimental group.
Eat?
And what they found afterwards was shocking. They found that the worms who
Come
had
on,
not
man.
been trained to avoid the light but did eat the worms who had were significantly better at avoiding the light than the worms who had eaten the non-trained worms. Basically,
Dang.
the memories of one worm was transferred to another after being eaten. Nature is wild,
That is
man. If this kindergarten's goal
crazy.
is to make BanBan more obedient and docile, one way they could do that is to try and get him to remember more of his docile human self. BanBan's human genome donor was Dr. Uthman, a scientist at the facility, one that knows about the experiments and why everything is being done. If
Okay.
BanBan can unlock more of the doctor's memories, then he likely would be more docile, more cooperative, as he would remember what his true purpose is. And we can confirm that this memory transferring ability is something the scientists are aware of, because during BanBan Zero, when Syringian is having a sneaky conversation with BanBan, he says this.
I'm also
doctor
Okay.
samples, like DNA samples.
How,
Syringia
though?
is planning on adding
Maybe
more
I
of
shouldn't
Dr.
ask.
Uthman's samples to BanBan in order to make him remember his past, to make him less prone to his aggressive outbursts. And we know this worked because at other points in the series, BanBan has more memories of being Dr. Uthman, even thinking that he is Dr. Uthman at one point.
Dang.
And this makes him more, quote, docile and cooperative. Exactly what the scientists wanted. But all of that comes later. As far as the scientists are concerned during BanBan Zero, giving BanBan the new strain has been a failure, and they plan on moving on from him and training up a replacement, Flumbo. But remind
Flumbo.
me again, how
Okay.
did the scientists refer to getting rid of BanBan? They didn't say they were destroying him or killing him. They are repurposing him. And that was when everything
Repurposing.
began to click into place. Flumbo was created to take BanBan's place, made purely out of the new strain of Givanium to avoid the mistakes from before. A strain that allows Flumbo to absorb the memories of any creature he consumes. BanBan's new purpose was to be food for Flumbo.
Dang.
Flumbo would then gain
Oh,
even
yeah,
more
he
of Dr. Uthman's memories.
BanBan would not
More
allow
intelligent
himself to
and
get
more
eaten.
docile, while avoiding
Heck, I
all
wouldn't
the
be
side
allowing myself
effects
to be
brought
eaten
on by
alive.
hybridization. That's why when we first wake up as Flumbo, they start immediately asking us questions about our memory. They're figuring out the starting point, which they will then test again once we've eaten BanBan. But of course, BanBan didn't let that happen. Although, according to the study, GD only really become cannibalistic like this when they're hungry. So as long as BanBan kept Flumbo well fed and not locked away for years, he'd likely never get to the point of wanting to eat.
Who gonna tell him? Who gonna tell him?
Anyway, now there is a chance that BanBan is actually banking on this detail, using Flumbo's hunger to eat his way through all of the other experiments that stand in his way. Problem is, he's going to absorb more and more memories and abilities each time he does.
Okay, question, and I'm sorry if this sounds like dumb because I don't usually follow Garten of BanBan. It's not like FNAF for me, okay? Like with FNAF, I spend hours thinking about it. With Garten of BanBan, I really just purposely try to erase it off my mind. But it's like, is Dr. Ootman essentially like the only donor to BanBan and I guess Flumbo? Or does Dr. Ootman also is the donor to everyone else? So if Flumbo does eat everyone else, like Jumbo Josh or insert Garden of BanBan character here, like would he get more memories from Dr. Ootman, or are there different donors aside from Dr. Ootman? Like I would really like to know in the comment section below. To anyone who does know about Garden of BanBan. But I'm just smelling a heel turn. I just smell that Flumbo is going to betray BanBan. And what's worse, BanBan set himself up for this. You was the one who trapped him in that closet.
And with the newest trailer being called Retribution, and with images like letters glitching from red to blue, this game seems to be setting up an epic conflict between Flumbo and BanBan, a battle of the devils. Because now that Flumbo is out, he's going to be hungry for two things: flesh and revenge. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory.
Alright guys, and that's going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the video so I know you guys enjoy. Comment down below what you guys think. Honestly, a good theory, to say the least. And if it's true, then I'm not gonna lie, I can just imagine at Garten of BanBan chapter 8, I believe is what he said. Chapter 8 is going. I'm gonna call it right now. I don't usually call it for Garten of BanBan stuff because it's Garten of BanBan. But I can just imagine a sequence where Flumbo just grabs BanBan, eats him alive in front of us, and then chases after us. I mean, hey man, I don't know how many episodes you gotta do. I don't know how many chapters they're planning to do this, but I feel like chapter 8 could just be the perfect time to get BanBan out of here. And then we get Flumbo as essentially being the new villain, and then chapter 10 would be the finale. You know, if they plan to end this in chapter 10. Because who knows? Because if I live through my life and I am alive to see that Garden of BanBan 58 is existing, I'm out. I'm out of here. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be on the lookout because starting Monday till next starting Monday, there's gonna be the floodgates of a lot of videos, like a lot of videos. There are going to be a lot of videos regarding for Juan Gamer 54, Alex the Wolf, and Juan Extras. Now, I'm not trying to say it's going to be a video every day, but there is going to be a lot of videos for 2 weeks. But anyways, guys, this is Juan Gamer 54 signing off.